Hey everyone, and welcome back. It's Abby from Abbey Road Creations, and today I'm going to show you guys how to make your own adorable little ghost for this Halloween season. This design is so much fun to make, and it makes such cute earrings and necklaces, and I'm sure that you will not stop at just one. You're going to give these to all your friends. So, to get started with this super easy tutorial, we will have one 9-inch piece of 20 gauge or 0.8 millimeter wire. I'm using silver plated copper wire. This is a dead soft wire. Any type of soft wire will work. So that would be copper wire. You can use a dead soft sterling silver, or you can use any type of plated or coated wire. I would recommend staying away from stainless steel if you're a beginner because it's really hard to work with. And also you will need one 5-inch piece of 26 gauge wire. You can use the same color or switch it up. Remember, you can make this your own, whatever you feel like, and it's really whatever you have at the house. So 26 gauge is 0.4 millimeter, and this is a 5-inch piece. If you do want to make earrings, make sure to double up on all of your materials. That way you can double up the design. For the little eyes, I like to use some 3 millimeter little faceted glass beads that I have in my stash. You can use whatever you like as long as it'll fit in the head. I'll make sure to remind you guys once we get to that step. You can even use some silver beads if you have any, or whatever color you want to use. If you do not have any beads at all, don't let that stop you from trying this. I'll show you a variation at the end where we can just make some hollow eyes and put that on the ghost, okay? So for our tools, we have round nose pliers are going to be very important in this tutorial because we do have a lot of round shapes to form. Of course, our handy dandy chain nose pliers that we use in almost everything that we make. And wire cutters. These are flush edge wire cutters. That just means that is very flat and it gives a really clean cut. These are just preferred. If you don't have them, whatever wire cutters you have will work just fine for this, okay? So once you have all of your tools, meet me back here and we'll get started. All right, so to give you guys a brief overview of how we're gonna do this design, we are gonna start with the head and then go on the arms, all right? And then we're gonna finish on this left side with the little pleats and his little ghost sheet. And then we're gonna finish it up by looping those wires around, and at the very end, we'll add his little googly eyes, okay? So, we will start with our thicker piece of wire, which is the 20 gauge piece. And we are gonna start measuring from the right side right here. We're gonna start about 4 inches in, okay? So we'll just have a bit more wire here on the left side than we do on the right because we have a lot more work to do on this side, okay? So once you have your approximate spot right here, you're just gonna grab the wire both hands like this and gently curve it down to form its little head. All right, if you have trouble with this part, you can always use like a marker or something to shape it around. Sometimes it's just the wire, the hardness of the wire is very inconsistent and it can cause weird little shapes and stuff. So if you don't get it right off the bat, just use a marker to help shape it. So for our ghost, this is the part where you want to make sure that the width of the head are going to fit the beads that you have, okay? So what you can do to make sure is just simply lay it down on your mat or on your table and then just place the beads in. You'll want to have like a few millimeters on each side. That will give us some room to wrap it around, okay? I think for mine, I'm gonna go ahead and measure, and I had measured that about 1 centimeter. That works. So yeah, we're gonna start with about that. So once you have the shape and the width that you like, we're gonna start on the arms. And for the tutorial's sake, because usually I just kind of guesstimate, but I measured this time because I love you guys. And the arms are also going to start about 1 centimeter down from the top of the head. But this is completely up to you. Feel free to make your ghost your own, okay? Once you found the spot where you want to start the arms, just grab those round nose pliers. And I like to start on the right hand side. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's just my normal things I do. And we are going to gently pinch with those round nose pliers. Remember, you don't ever want to pinch too hard because it makes little divots in the wire. And then we're going to actually be making the round shape using our hands and forming it around the pliers, okay? So as you can see, I am just gently pushing up with my thumb, and the wire is kind of molding around the round nose pliers. We're not actually twisting the wire with them to get that shape. Okay, and I kind of put it in like a Y shape as if the ghost is going to do the YMCA. And then you can kind of line those up, or you can measure again. See if I can get this and staring into the camera. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Just gently pinching and pushing that up, shaping it around the round section of the pliers. And this we can all adjust later. Like right now my ghost is looking pretty wide, but don't worry, we can scrunch that in, okay? So now for his little ghost hands, you're just going to move the position of the round nose pliers to the other wire, the wire that we just pushed up, okay? And I just like to put it about at the end. I feel like that does give me enough room to make his little ghost hands, but you can make them as tall or short as you want. Let's see, I'm going to move my pliers up just a little bit so they're not so stubby. And again, we are just using our hands to push and pull that wire back down at a diagonal, okay? And now moving to the other side. I do like to alternate like this. It just feels like it gives me more symmetry if I'm concentrated on the same thing in a relatively short period of time, in case you're wondering why I keep going back and forth. And yes, we are just doing the same thing here with that other wire. Kind of pushing it back down. All right, so now you should have kind of a cactus looking shape. And yes, you can use this to make a really cool cactus too, if that gives you any inspiration. All right, so I am just gonna kind of push my arms in a little, just work with the shapes until you get something that you like. No matter what, this is gonna look like a ghost at the end, so don't worry. And once you get everything in the shape and spaced out the way you like it, I'm just gonna go back to that left side and use my finger to gently create like a curve in the wire. Now remember again, if your curve doesn't look as smooth as mine, it may not be you, it may be the wire. The classic breakup phrase, but it's true. You may just need to try a new spool of wire because sometimes the factories get different consistencies and the hardness, and it gives you kinks and stuff. So don't be afraid to break up with your wire. Once you get a curve on one side, go ahead and go to the other side. I like to alternate between my index finger and my thumb. And your ghost can be as curvy as you want him to be. All right, we're already getting a little ghosty here. So for now, we are done with this right side. The rest of the detail is going to come from the left side, okay? So our goal now is to create a little bend here to create his little skirt. All right, to work on his little skirt, we're going to be using our round nose pliers. And if you want to make sure that your ghost is going to be about the same size as mine, I think I measured that the one I made before was about 3 centimeters. Feel free to make him a tiny bit longer or shorter. The only thing is that the wire that I measured out was meant for a 3 centimeter ghost, so just don't make him, you know, extremely like Shaquille O'Neal tall, and you should be fine. So, grabbing where we approximately want to put our pliers, we are still working with those round nose pliers, okay? And we are going to put it further in so that we're working with the kind of thicker round part of them. And remember, gently pinching with the pliers, and we're creating the round shape by moving it around the pliers, okay? Just kind of want it to be straight like that. And now we are going to create the little pleats that really give him a bit of style, okay? So in order to do this, and this is a cool trick to learn, we need this wire that's on top to be on bottom. And I know it can be scary to move wires once you've already started a design, but the best trick you can do is to make big movements, okay? As you can see, the wire is going to retain a bit of the, I just spaced out. All right, I'm back. I just had such a brain fart. But what I wanted to say is that the wire is going to retain a bit of the spring it has, so it shouldn't move the design too far out of shape. And if you can always just squish and push him back into the shape that you want him to be. So for these little pleats, we are just going to kind of pick a spot. I usually use my chain nose pliers, and I use whatever width they are, okay? So the chain nose pliers, those are the ones with the flat edge. I'm just going to go back in here. I think I'm holding it pretty much in the middle. Remember, this part, it doesn't matter if yours are a little bit different, it's still going to create the same cool effect. So gently pinching, I'm just going to use my thumb to move that wire straight up. Okay, releasing with the pliers. And then I am going to choose another little spot. I'd say maybe about 1 centimeter. I still have a hard time guessing with the metric system. And I'm gently pinching. Remember, the wire's on the back, so that's going to allow us to pull that wire straight back. Trying to give you guys a good view. I don't know which one's the best. Okay, so you can give a little pinch here, either with your hands if your wire is soft enough. I always encourage you to use your hands when you can. It just prevents us from accidentally scraping the wire, especially plated wire. But if you do need to use your tools, try to pinch like this to create some stability so you can rest your pliers on, and then that will allow you to have more control while you're pinching, okay? Now, if what happened to me has happened to you and you can kind of twisted the wire, don't be afraid to just kind of grip with your pliers and twist back into place. We really want these two wires right here to be aligned because it's going to create the illusion of a single line, which is going to give us the cool effect with the pleats and the ghost's sheet. All right, back to the design. Grab those chain nose pliers again, and we are just going to kind of nestle them down in that bend right there and just repeat what we did before by pushing that wire. That way it lines up with the other one. And then we're going to create another little pleat. It can be the same width. I'm going to do a little bit smaller this time. And you can also choose a different height. I like to either go higher or lower than the one I did before, just to make it a tiny bit different. Now, stop right there because I'm realizing that we're about to make a big mistake. We did not switch our wires, okay? So always make sure this wire is going to be on the bottom. Again, just big movements, and that should just spring back into place, okay? Make sure we got the green light to go, and we are going to push that wire up. Okay, so this one, it's behind, that's good. That's going to allow us to pull it back. And I'm going to pinch my pliers just a tiny bit higher this time, because why not? Oops, I cannot see on my camera. There we go. Got the right one this time. And again, gentle little pinch with our pliers. Line that back up. And now we should have just enough wire on this side to simply bend this. Okay, that way we finish that little drape at the skirt of the ghost. And now we are so close to being finished with this little ghost body. We are just going to put this wire right here, simply put it on top, and then select the height that you want for that. I think that looks pretty good. And then we are going to pinch these two wires, or the body of the ghost here, because the goal that we're gonna do, the goal that we want to do, is to curve this wire back and the other one around, okay? So pinching, and all I'm doing is gently pushing. I'm starting with my hands. I'm gonna try my best to pinch with my hands, but if you can't quite make it, what we're gonna do is go ahead and trim off this wire right here. Make sure you kind of hold on to this end so it doesn't go flying off. And now we are just going to grab our chain nose pliers and use that to curve that in, okay? So that is the first end. And now we have this small end right here. And because it's already so small, we aren't even gonna bother with our fingers because we are just gonna poke ourselves. So let me find the best way to hold this so I don't block the view for you guys. You're just gonna hold these in place with your hands, allowing you to twist this wire back, okay? As you can see, I'm simply gripping the pliers and I'm turning with this motion right here, okay? All right, so that should lock those two into place. If you want, you can also go in. I like to usually trim these up a bit more. You can go in with your round nose pliers if you want. And then just kind of give it a little squish. Remember, I'm kind of balancing it on my fingers to give it some control, okay? All right, if anything got out of line, just kind of push it back into line. You can continue to shape the ghost at this point, but if it looks cute to you, then I think it's time we move on to the eyes, okay? So for his little eyes, I'm gonna show you the original way that I do mine, and then I'm gonna show you some alternatives just in case this is a bit too tricky, because working with teeny tiny beads and wires can be a bit annoying whenever you're first starting out wire wrapping. So for the original, we are just gonna use that 5-inch piece of 26 gauge or 0.4 millimeter silver plated wire. And we are going to take our little ghost. Now we're gonna have maybe about a 1-inch tail, just laying that wire flat on top about where we want the eyes. We are going to pinch, and we can go ahead and use our tools for this because it is teeny tiny and it's going to be a bit annoying to work with our fingers because it will be slippery. So we are just going to try and work this wire and wrap it around the left side of its head, or its head wire, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so I like to work a bit with my pliers, also with my fingers. Now this part is going to be a little bit annoying. I always find working with tiny wires to be annoying. So if you're good with your ghost not having any eyes, you can skip this. I mean, it's your creation. But for those who want to give them little googly eyes, we are going to keep wrapping this around about 3 times. Okay, I'm kind of using a combination of my tools and my hands to hold that in place. All right, I'm going to tuck it in one more time. We're going to call that done. All right, so I'm pinching with my left hand, and I am pulling really hard. Oop, I didn't mean to do that. I'm pulling really hard with my pliers just to try and tighten that around this wire. It's still going to move a little bit, and I'll give you guys a tip for that at the end, so don't worry about that yet. Grab your wire cutters, and let's go ahead and clip off that little edge. Make sure to keep it away from your eyes. So you can see I'm going to clip right here. My finger's going to cover it up though, okay? So I don't want that to fly off at me. And then we can go ahead. We're not going to pinch that end just yet. Let's go ahead and finish his eyes, okay? All right. So let's add on one of these little beads. And these are just some random beads that I found online. You can probably find them in just by typing in faceted small glass beads or something really generic like that. All right, so once you have the first one on, you're gonna kind of hold it with your left hand, and we're gonna try and wrap that wire around to frame it and give it kind of like a more round look. So we'll go around one more time. And as you can see, I'm kind of turning both the wire and my little ghost, and I'm holding everything the best I can with my left hand. If this part frustrates you, remember that I'm going to show you some easier ways to do it. I just want to show you the way that I like to do it too, just in case. All right, I got one on. Let's go ahead and add the other bead. And we are going to do the same thing. As you can see, that kind of goes down as at a diagonal. That's all right. Try our best to lock that in place by wrapping this wire around. All right. And I do apologize if I seem a bit off in this video. I've actually had the sun blinding me in my right eye the entire time. So there may be some things that I haven't seen. We'll see in the editing, okay? All right, once you have that wrapped around, I did it about twice, just so it finishes on this side here. We are once again going to pinch with my left hand and wrap this around. I like to put it on top. That way it's the same as the other one, okay? So I'll do as much as I can with my fingers. I don't think that'll be very much. And I still like to hold this with my left hand as I tighten because it kind of prevents me from pulling that wire around his eye down too much. All right, I think it is about to be plier time. Yeah. So remember, don't be afraid to use your pliers for this point, because the wire that your pliers are touching at the very end, that's not going to be on the creation. So it's okay if we damage it a little bit. All right, let's see, I think that's the right amount. Like again, I said I'm not sure because the sun is in my eyes. All right. There we go. Remember, we'll hold it again, just give it a nice tug. And then we are going to clip this wire off. Right about there. Nice and gentle. As you can see, that does move. So once you move your eyes into the place that you want them to be, you can go in with your chainless pliers, give it a nice pinch. Just like that. So I'm just kind of putting them on and pinching the wire. If you find that these continue to move, which sometimes it does to me, I don't know why it's not doing that now, but if you find that they continue to move, you can use a tiny bit of jewelry lacquer or clear nail polish. I would not suggest glues because glues can dry kind of funny, but lacquers and stuff can help keep this kind of secured, and it'll also give you an extra protective coating on your plated wire, which will kind of help it shine better. I would recommend Protect-A-Clear, and I'll put a link in the caption. That's the one that I've always used, and it's a good quality jewelry lacquer. So here is our little ghost. He is all finished. If you want to make a necklace, you can use your leftover wire to just simply make a loop. And don't worry guys, I haven't forgot about those other versions. That's just a little ADD kicking in. To make a loop, I'm just kind of bending that down. And then like this. Okay, and then I like to cut my loops off slightly towards the back so they don't risk like falling off. Oop. Like that, and then we'll cut the other end just above it. And as you can see, that kind of makes your own jump ring, or you can just use a super cheap jump ring and not make it yourself. All right, just close that end just like you would a jump ring. And then I like to just give it a pinch where those ends meet. Line it up again if we need to. It's all right, it's a process. It's so awesome if I could see really well right now. There you go. And you just want to kind of make sure that that's not going to be rough and like pick anyone's clothing or just irritate their skin. And then there you go. You have a little necklace loop and your ghost is ready to fly around. All right, so back to these ghosts that need eyes. If that version was a bit too tricky for you, you can size down and wire, because remember 26 gauge is a bit harder to work with. So you can size down, and we will start, you know, the same way where we just lay it across. And wrap it around. I'm gonna go a bit quicker this time because I don't want to bore you guys with the same old stuff. All right, and instead of having to like wrap the wire around the beads, you could find larger beads that will kind of take up the entire room on his head. So we're gonna try 4mm beads and we'll see how that looks. This problem solving is more fun when we do it together. All right, so I think for an easier version, and remember before, as I said, you can kind of push and pull. You can kind of do that too to adjust the size of your ghost head. So with these, you could just put them on like that, not wrapping the wire around, not highlighting them. I think the main reason I did that is because mine were clear and I wanted them to stand out and kind of stay in place. And then before, as we did before, you just kind of hold the beads there. It gives you something to grip onto as you wrap this wire back around about 3 to 4 times, and then you give it a pinch in. So that is the simpler version with beads. And now if you don't have any tiny beads at home, you could just leave him an eyeless ghost, or we can try to kind of make our own just using our round nose pliers, okay? So again, this is a 5-inch piece of 26 gauge wire. I'm just gonna find my approximate middle point. And this is my first time trying this, so let's hope that it goes well. I'm just gonna grip with the round nose pliers, and our goal is we are just going to make a loop. So maybe about towards the middle-ish of them, and we are just wrapping that wire around. Once it meets our round nose pliers, all we have to do is just kind of twist them and get them out of the way, okay? So we are ideally kind of doing the same thing we did in the very first one, except for we don't have the beads in it, okay? And you can use your hands to kind of get things lined up, to shape things too. Once you have one little round loop, just go ahead and put your pliers right next to it. And we are going to wrap this other end around. Remember, just rotate your pliers around whenever they get in the way, kind of spin them around. And there you go. You should have 2 little loop-de-loops like that. Do the best you can. No matter what, he's gonna look cute, okay? So once we have that, we hope that they fit. We will go and do the same thing where we kind of pinch for our dear lives with our left hand. And we're going to gently wrap this around just like we did the other times. The pinching is very important this time because we do really risk pulling this wire too hard, which will kind of completely destroy the round shape we just worked so hard to get. And sorry for hitting the camera, I'm trying to get close. All right, so I wrapped that around once. Go ahead and do the other side. And yes, the wire is going to move around and drive you crazy, but that's part of the fun. All right. And if they're a bit lopsided too, it's all right. We are aiming for cute Halloween jewelry today. We are not aiming for perfection. Here we go. I'm going to do a few more turns on this other side with my pliers. All right, I just want to tighten these up like I did all the others. Remember, You're holding that really well, okay, right? So now we are finally ready to clip these off. All right, and if things did get a little bit distorted, you can go back in and use your pliers to do some final touch-ups. I don't want my wire cutters. I want my chainless pliers. I'm once again going to pinch these. And that is option number 3. Kind of looks like he's wearing sunglasses. It's cute. So guys, I hope that you enjoyed these different versions that I gave you, and I hope you get to make some super cute ghost jewelry for this Halloween. All right, so I am going to go get out of the sun now and try and recover my vision. But if you guys have any questions, if there is anything I missed while I was panicking trying to finish this while being blinded, please let me know and I will try my best to answer your questions. If not, guys, I will see you next time. Happy Halloween!